Well, welcome back to another episode of the College Insider. In this exclusive interview, we sat down with Coach Sean Hallas of Youville University men's soccer in NCAA Division II. Coach Hallas gives us great insight into his time coaching and playing across all levels of the NCAA, including Syracuse University and NCAA Division I. As a coach, we get insight into how he has set BYU on a path to success with their first ever ECC conference title in their very first year in Division II, why playing semi-pro soccer in the USL2 and MPSL through the summer is so important for college soccer athletes aspiring to play at the highest levels in the USA, and so much more. So sit back and enjoy this interview with Coach Hallas. I hope you get a lot out of it. For me, the big thing as well is, I love underdog stories. I love it. 15 years of doing this, people are quite surprised because I look at of all the clients and, hundreds of clients from all around the world over the years. And, we've had 4 national champions, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure where Amherst is.
Yeah, they're in the Final Four, I think.
So they're in the Final Four, but they're very close to. They were close last year. We had a national champion, another alumni who won the national championship with St. Olaf last year, but they played Amherst, where one of our other boys are.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they go all the way this year and we get another national champion this year. But we've had 4 national champions, hopefully a lot more over the next couple of years. I think the big thing for me is, you've come in and you've taken the program over and you've seen an advantage there. Maybe it's obviously location, it's conference, it's the opportunity to build something from the ground up and build it into something.
Yep.
For me, I want to get more clarity about you, because here's the other thing. I thought you were actually born in the States. I was expecting a US accent, mate. So you grew up in England, yeah?
Yep, grew up in just outside of kind of Bradford, Leeds in England, yeah. So came over when I was 17. Kind of did the whole scholarship thing. So it's easy for me to kind of sell things, right? Because I've gone through the whole process myself, and a lot of coaches have who are foreign out here. So it makes that process easier. And then obviously parents have a lot of questions, X, Y, and Z about visa process, all that kind of stuff, and it just makes things easier. But yeah, grew up in just outside of Leeds, Bradford, in a small town.
So Leeds was your club?
Unfortunately, no, it's Man United. So that's a longer story. We could be that will be a longer story. All my best mates are Leeds fans. Brother's a Leeds fan. Granddad was a season ticket holder at Old Trafford. So I was the first grandson. So he kind of pulled me in that direction fairly quickly. And it worked, right? It's been great for the first 18, 19 years of my life, and then after that it's gone a bit south fairly quickly. So hopefully we're in the other side of things.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes with the new gaffer. But did you play obviously back there in the academy system?
Played semi-pro. That was the highest I played. It wasn't anything special. Loved playing and kind of played golf at the same time as well. It was kind of one of them half and half things. Brother's a very good golfer, so Dad grew up playing golf. It was one of them things where I just love football. I mean, they love football as well. It's just they kind of swayed more towards the golf side of things. But yeah, semi-professional, in and around it at times with Bradford City maybe at times, but never kind of got into that academy system. And then decided to come out here. There was a few guys who did it in the local area, so I just wanted to carry on my education like a lot of guys do and see where it I never thought I'd be. I know some guys want to come out here and be professional footballers, and that's great, but that was never the goal for me. The goal was to come out here, carry on my education, then see where it landed. But as soon as I arrived, I absolutely loved it. I went to GCC, which is down the road still. Transferred out of there after 2 years, and then had a quick stop off at Lincoln Memorial at D2 in which was I did the whole followed the kind of scholarship instead of actually doing my digging on location and stuff like that and all that kind of thing. So love my time there. However, like the guys were great. Like, we had a great team. We had a great the campus is beautiful. It's just very remote. And then final spot was William Carey down in Mississippi, which was a very high level team. Very high level team. It was fun to be around. So that's kind of the college route I took.
So was that, if we go back to LMU, was that Hellier? Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
And then at William Carey was.
I was the first year with Baz, so I had the first year with Barry. Yeah, it was fun. It was the team was just high level. Like obviously a bunch of international guys, and then we had a lot of kind of mix and matches of. It was just a lot of culture in the program. It's kind of what I've tried to do since I've become a head coach. Like the more diverse the team, in my opinion, I think the better the environment. So, especially at the D2 level, where it's just so kind of Wild West at times with the amount of internationals in each team. So, not to say the American US citizen players out there at that level. We try and bring 4 or 5 Americans each year. It's just. I think it's different with the Americans when they look at D2. I mean, I know you mentioned Amherst there. I feel like the ECNL kids and MLS Next kids, if you look at their showcases right now, not a lot of D2 coaches attend. It's a lot of D1 and then high academic D3, because I think a lot of American kids don't. They shy away from D2s at times. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's because of the international players. It's heavily on the international side right now is D2. I know that for sure. So maybe it's that, maybe it's the price of school. I don't know. But a lot of showcases right now, the ECNL and the MLS Next, there's one this weekend. A lot of D3s and then D1s. There's not a lot of D2s that even bother.
Wow. So unpack that for me. You've been across pretty much every layer of college.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking last night, I've hit playing and coaching, I've hit everything. So I've hit JUCO, D3 coach, D2, now coach, player, NIA player, D1 coach. What else have I missed? Is there anything else? No, I've hit everything. So
you've done everything. But, a lot of the questions that I get asked by prospects and their families is the difference between each, and they don't understand the system because they're looking at it from the outside in and are not very well versed, especially in international markets. They don't really understand what college, I guess, athletics is, college soccer is in general, how that compares to the global stage in terms of football globally. I call it football just like you do. But for me, from your perspective, what's the differences? You know, I know it, but I think if you can,
I mean, it's just this is going to sound a bit harsh, but I think
articulated as a person who's played across like latest.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound a bit out there, but I think it's just the professionalism of the environment. But if you ask coach to coach, it's like being at Syracuse last year. Just day to day was just so intense. Even with the players, right, they're expected to be at a certain level, whether it's in class, whether it's on the field, practice, to be a part of the program, whether they're on zero scholarship or whether they're getting a full ride. In terms of the D3 aspect, when we were at Medaille, it's a bit more relaxed. Level of players obviously different. Level of commitment, a bit like myself, where some guys are trying to be out here to be professional, but there's other guys, right, that are coming out here just to prolong their soccer career that they've had, and get a degree on the side, which is fine. Right? We've got multiple guys like that in the team right now. Right? We're at a level where I think the degree still comes first, and then the football comes second. But if you're looking at these Syracuse type players who jump into the draft, last year we had so many kind of graduate students in the team. Their end goal was pro. This graduate degree is not really a thing that they want to pursue too much. It's how do I get pro as quickly as possible. So, and a lot of guys did. They're still playing now. So it's I think that's the difference in level. I was surprised this year with the level of player at different teams. I feel like D1. The higher end of D1 is just so out there. It's like a different sport. in terms of, I think the high end of D3s could jump into a lot of conferences in the US and compete at a really high level. Like St. Olaf, Amherst, they could jump into, let's call them mid-major kind of conferences and do really well. Like you're looking at Mercyhurst as a great example this year, who are a top end D2, and they've gone on and won their conference. And it's a credit to kind of the school and the coaching staff. But that was already set in place. That was already set in place years ago because of the level of the program they already had. So, and it just shows that it helps. Right? It helps the kind of it just doesn't help kind of describing it to players where a D2 team has jumped straight into D1 and won their conference immediately. I get asked this question all the time, but it's just very hard to kind of summarize it, just because there's a team at every level that could beat everyone, in my opinion. So, like you're looking at Gannon as well in D2, like they could easily jump into some D1 conferences and go and win it, in my opinion. So, but the D3 world is very unique in terms of that spring season. That spring semester is the biggest thing for me. I found that out last year as a coach, jumping in. I came in December. So it was around 12 months ago right now where I jumped on board at Youville, and the spring semester was eye-opener for me, just in terms of how much practice there actually is from the January to the May period, different to D3 where you just don't see them. You see them in March, basically. So it's that's the difference, in my opinion. That D1, D2 is there to make you an all-round better player for 12 months. And then obviously the D3 aspect of the world is you're on your own kind of, in my opinion, for 4 or 5 months. And your coaching staff are kind of hands are tied just due to how the NCAA works. It's just the way it is.
So that's a really good insight. I think that, and it shows, you mentioned St. Olaf, and just so you understand, we had one of our boys obviously win a national championship with them from Australia. And if you look at St. Olaf and you look at some of the boys that really bubbled up to the top in that environment, they transitioned into D1 programs for, their graduate degrees, like you said, whether or not they're thinking about the graduate component, they're leveraging it to maybe get that shot at being looked at higher levels, right? So it's really interesting. I've seen it, you've articulated it, seen it over the years, where when you mentioned Mercyhurst, so we just had one of our Aussie boys obviously take out the conference title in the first year. I spent a lot of time at Mercyhurst myself, so that's now our third client at the program, right? And back when they were a powerhouse in D2 as well. There's just so many different layers to this, and it's very, very hard to articulate. And I guess, and maybe you'll agree with me, it just always ultimately comes down to fit, right? Yep. And who that player is, right? Who that player is, who they are technically, where are they academically, and then, that will dictate where they end up in the system, and the rest is really down to them to see, where they want to head. I think this is really intriguing for me because you said, hey, I've been across the whole landscape, which you have on the collegiate front, but outside of it, there's this massively growing system that's kind of brewing up, whether it be professionally, see the landscape MLS, but now you're seeing the USL as a league probably becoming one of the fastest growing leagues in the world in terms of, size, infrastructure, and what they're rolling out in terms of, different clubs jumping on different levels and layers. I want to get your thoughts around that because you've spent time over the years as a semi-pro coach. Maybe you want to unpack that for us, like in terms of where does that fit into it?
Yeah, my first year last year with FC Buffalo was positive. It's basically a stop-off where the college guys are continuing that kind of development throughout the 3 months in the summer at a really high level, and then continue into the fall season. Right, I know the international guys, even the US guys, there's not a lot of soccer going on, as you would call it, throughout them 3 months if you're not playing in the NPSL, USL, whatever it may be when you're a college athlete. So I told my guys who are transferring into the Youville this year that didn't mandate it, but I kind of said, listen, you need to be playing. It's as simple as that, because I know what it's like when you go home, like the UK and Spain. There's not a lot going on in them summer months where you're going on vacation with family, you're spending time with friends, having a few drinks here and there, which is fine. But it gets to a point where if you're looking to go to the next step, you have to be playing consistently throughout the whole year. So talking about fit, we had a player at Medaille who's, I mean, he's broken records after records after records in the US. He started as a goalkeeper, and we took a shot on him. Great kid. Broke every record at Medaille going for the 2 years. Was top goal scorer in the nation at D3 2 years running. And he went to University of Albany. But he came back and played with me last year at FC Buffalo, and it was just one of them things where he broke all the records at FC Buffalo as well. Like, this kid is going to he's just signed a professional contract out in Spain. So, like you said, with the best fit for everyone, he started as a goalkeeper, ended up as a forward. I mean, I know this is a kind of a unique situation, but went to a small D3 school in Buffalo, New York. Absolutely loved the place. Comes back to Buffalo, New York every single summer to play USL2, and then goes on to University of Albany. He's been the top scorer for 2 years running. So it's a unique situation, but everyone finds a home if they do the right searching, and they put their name out there. I saw a tweet the other day from a guy who said, coaches won't find you if you don't reach out to them first, which is not true. Like, it isn't true, but at the same time, coaches are getting that many emails left and right. It is hard to filter through. So the more you can get your face-to-face contact with players, the better. And my advice to every single player is keep pestering the coaches. Like, coaches might miss one email, but they won't miss two, they won't miss three, and they won't miss four. And just keep emailing, keep texting, whatever it may be. So that's my opinion on it, because I miss multiple emails. It's just too hard to keep up. But at the same time, if you emailed me twice, 3 times, I'm going to see it. I'm going to watch that highlight video, and I will get back to you. So, and it's different at different programs, right? Where the budget cuts now with COVID and stuff. Some schools have got one coach, some schools have got a coach and a half, whatever it may be. So there's a lot going on. But that USL2 world is, I try and push all my players to it. All my players. If it's not USL2, I understand. Obviously, there's only a certain amount of USL2 teams out there. NPSL, just keep playing throughout the summer. It's just huge for your development going into the fall. Networking's massive, right, in the US. So you're meeting players who are coming across different colleges. At the end of it, you might find a job out of being with a teammate in the USL. It's one of them things where it's not just about the football. At times, you're playing with players who you're going to come up against maybe in the fall. We had a lot of guys at FC Buffalo last summer who played against each other this fall, and it was good to watch. Some of them won conference titles, some of them were the best players in the team, but it's just a lot of networking, and it's a fun summer. It's just hectic. It's just another college season before a college season, so it's a lot of football, but it's a fun part of the year because it's obviously warm in most of the country, and the games are high level, very, very high level, because I think we had. If I look back at the starting 11 last year, there was 10 D1 players and a high level D2 centre midfielder in the starting 11. So, like, you're talking about some very, very good footballers here who just want to continue playing at a high level throughout them summer months.
So if you look at the USL2, and I've seen it happen over the years, I believe there's a young player in the league now. His name is Ollie Wright, the English lad. Mm-hmm. Ollie played under a handful of my boys that I sent through to St. Mary's in Texas.
Yep.
Before Johnny Clifford took over, and Johnny was the assistant back then. But they all played in the USL, either USL2 or the NPSL, mostly in the NPSL back then. But you see kids like Ollie who leveraged that platform through the summer, and then inevitably, through, he's an exception, obviously.
Yep.
And it's always the 1% rule remains, a kind of kind of a beacon, to be honest with you, for a lot of these kids saying, okay, well, I want to go pro, but realistically, whether you go college, you go down, try the professional pathway in different parts of the world, it's going to be less than 1%, right? They get that opportunity, but Ollie's an exception. Your time at Syracuse, obviously, they won the national tournament the other year. I assume you were part of that period.
No, I was there. I arrived in Syracuse. We won the conference with Medaille, and then I jumped on in that summer. So it was kind of the April-May time. They won that national championship in the fall the previous year.
Right. So did you have the chance to work with players like 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗃 and?
No. I mean, we had guys who Jonah Leibold, Noah Singleman. Who else was a mainstay in that team? Gio, who's now playing at Orlando City, is in the first team. Who's from Syracuse, so he was a great guy to have around. We had a few guys who I already knew from the local area who transferred in from Niagara. Gabby McKenna was an unbelievable player that year. Buster Schober, who was a national champion with the guys the year before. So that team was a very experienced team. You're looking across the 11, the 11 consistent 11. There was a lot of seniors, graduate players, and a lot of transfers who came in and kept the level high. Right, it's natural when you win a national championship. A lot of guys are going to immediately go down that pro route. But Mac did a great job in terms of bringing the next lot of guys in, who then went on to play professional. I think that year there was 8 or 9 guys who went on to play in the MLS Next Pro who are still playing now. And then Gio obviously went in the draft and got picked up by Orlando, and then Olu got picked up, and then Buster as well, who got picked up in the draft. So you're talking high-level guys there who are still playing at the same teams now, and they're enjoying it and they're excelling. So that will be the best team I will be around, no doubt, in my college soccer coaching career, in my opinion. Like the level was so high. We unfortunately came up against a New Hampshire team in the national tournament that was just very, very good. They were very good that year. So, and I know their head coach now is obviously doing major things at NC State. So it shows the level of D1 and the players that are just around there knocking around.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that. I always try to marry up the levels here in Australia. When kids come through, they might be playing. I mean, you're starting to get more clarity around some of these recruits hailing from Australia with Max, their level, where they're transitioning out of. But it really would be the equivalent of you playing almost as a reserve team player in MLS. In our system, probably an A-League youth type player.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, I don't know the minimum. I mean, it's around 75. I mean, it's a guess, but it's around 75 to 80 grand. Like, that's what Gio will be on. That's his rookie contract. Like, you're talking coming from knocking around with the guys, being a captain at Syracuse, to an 80 grand a year contract at an MLS club, and he's excelling. And yes, he's a part of the first team, and obviously he's getting minutes in the second team here and there. But every single time Orlando play, I look if he's in the roster, and he's come on multiple times. And I touch base with a number of them. I'm back and forth with Gabby, who is the captain of St. Louis 2. So he's the captain of St. Louis 2 in that MLS Next Pro League. A few guys are playing abroad still in their kind of professional leagues, like maybe there's one in Italy, there's a few in Sweden. So that team has always, their aspiration, that team were always to try and go pro. Yes, there was a lot of guys who would try to get that degree for sure, but that list of 20 players at Syracuse that year were, I'm going pro. This is my mindset. It was every single day in training you could see this is what I'm going to do in the next 2, 3, 4 months. And that was always going on when the season was going on. So yes, they were concentrating in games and practice, but in the back of their mind, there was an end goal they were working towards, kind of selfishly on their own. So it only made the team better, right? In practice, it wasn't like they weren't pushing for the team, but at the end, they were thinking, if I don't give an extra 10% here, this contract might not come.
Yeah, that's really interesting. take for sure. It's something that really intrigues me, and it's very, very important for these kids. Mostly on the parents' side, they always, the kids got their dream about playing footy, but the academics are always fundamental. But you got kids out there that are truly interested in the academic front as well. For the most part, I'd say a good 90+% of them are focused on the footy, but when they transition over, the academics do come into a lot more focus. You mentioned when you transitioned into the system over here, the academic aspect was fundamental to you, and you're probably looking at that aspect a lot more than just playing footy. Footy was just the kind of the add-on benefit of being part of the system. What is it that you see that from an academic perspective the system can provide? I've seen it personally, obviously, but from your perspective. But then outside of that as well, why do you feel that the Youville, being traditionally a Division 3 type school, it's a liberal arts type environment, it's a very highly concentrated academic environment in terms of whatever you want to study. What makes kind of the Youville so special now, even with it transitioning into D2 on the academic front as well?
The moment I came into the school, I mean, I still say this now to the recruits I speak to, I haven't been in an environment at the Youville ever, whether it's playing, coaching, in terms of every single team pulling for each other, in terms of the administration, being so supportive, being at every single game. The amount of support personally I've had, I mean, it's not easy going from 0 and 13 to trying to build something in year 1, 2, 3. And the amount of support I've had is crazy in terms of administration. The special thing about the school right now is, yes, that transitional moment from D3 to D2, and teams are winning conferences. We had the baseball team winning a conference last year. We've just had the volleyball team win their conference in ECC. So there's no reason why this school can't be a powerhouse in the ECC, first of all. I believe that we're in a good spot right now, and we're only going to get better things in terms of men's soccer. We're traditionally kind of a nursing and kind of pharmacy kind of direction of the school. None of my guys are in them majors, bar one, I don't think. A lot of my guys are in the business school. A lot of my guys are in the sports management school. But myself and the coaching staff, we heavily target the academics first, and then the football. The football's the fun part, right? We look after the football. My job, I always tell my guys, my job, guys, is to win football games. My job relies on winning football games. ฎ, my assistant job, relies on winning football games. If we don't win football games, you're still going to be here, right? Because that's not the case. You're still going to be here, but I won't. But what I can control is making sure you get your degree and you show up to class and you're doing the stuff that you need to do. Communicate with your tutors. Get your tutors out to the games. Right? It's one of them things. Just be a personable kind of figure for the men's soccer program. Show up to other teams' games, and that's the biggest thing right now at the Youville. The amount of support that you get from, I think we had over 350, 400 people at our quarterfinal this year. That's never happened before. It's just never ever happened before, and the majority of them people were at other sports. So I know winning solves a lot of things, but at the same time, the coaching environment, and I think the administration has done a great job in getting the right personable coaches into each role, where they're all supporting each other. And if, for example, I know it doesn't work in certain schools, but if men's basketball are excelling and another 2 or 3 sports are excelling, then things kind of fall into place in other sports as well, because you just push each other on. I'm sure if you look at Mercyhurst, it's not just men's soccer who are excelling in that school right now. It's a lot more than that. And Gannon's the same, and you're talking all these other schools that are winning things. It's not just one program that excels. It's normally the actual school, and they're all pushing in the right direction. It's at the Youville, it's come from the administration. So it's come from the AD, the 2 assistant ADs who have been absolutely brilliant with me. But in terms of programs, the guys are situated in them business and kind of sports management, biology programs. I think team GPA right now for this semester is around 3.8. So kind of we massively push the academic side, but at the same time, it's one of them things where boys show up. Just show up and do the work. You're here to, yes, kick a ball around, but that's the fun part. You've got to do the dirty part and the stuff maybe that you don't enjoy too much to have that that entertainment and that fun part on the field. And that's what comes. Don't make me, I always say to the guys, I'm a bit harsh with the guys, and I said this to Max as well when he arrived, don't make me do more in my job that I don't need to do. And that would be following up with you with class, why you're not going to class, all that kind of stuff. Because if it comes to me, it will go to the assistants first, but if it comes to me, it will affect the football. I don't want it to affect the football. We're at a point in this program right now where your class shouldn't affect us, me playing you 90 minutes or playing you 45. It just shouldn't be the case. So we mentioned it a few times throughout the season, the academic part, and the guys have been absolutely brilliant. I think it came from the captains also. Sean Burke and Alex, who's been with me. Alex transferred in from the local Medaille University as a graduate. He was a captain there. And then Sean was with me at Medaille, transferred out obviously when the school closed, and then came back to play underneath me in his senior year. And he's just a captain's figure. He's that Jack the Lad kind of guy. 4.0 GPA. I always feel like if the guys lead the culture, the coaching staff can concentrate on their job and win football games and do the right thing. And sometimes it looks like it's coming from the coaching staff that are setting the culture, but it's more the players setting the culture and the coaching staff follow, in my opinion.
No, I think that's a good analogy, mate. I think, and it's unique to what you guys do, but you'd probably see that it gives them a focus and discipline around their academics, because you're saying, hey, that's where the real work is, right? And, you know, the football aspect, I love the fact that you mentioned that you're making it as hard as it is and as hard as you drive them and as much as you demand of them, they see it as their pleasure, their joy, right? And that's really, when you have that kind of environment, I've been in those kinds of environments right up to the elite levels of the game where, you know, the boys are joshing around, they're having a good laugh, but they also have that discipline when they need to be disciplined and put their head down, they work. And that's, I guess, a byproduct of the academic diligence that's, you know, entrenched in any particular university you might attend over there, but especially at the Youville, right? So really, really interesting that you mentioned that and how those dynamics play out with yourselves. Finally, I want to ask, what an amazing season. And I always look at the underdog stories and I love it. I love seeing what you guys achieved, obviously, for the fact that we actually have one of our clients who was a part of that and will, you know, continue to grow within that environment. I'm just really excited for you. Where do you see the program headed for the next couple of years? What's your kind of thought process on that?
I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of this program, in my opinion. I wouldn't have come into this program if I didn't think it was not a quick fix, but I wouldn't have come in if I didn't think this could be turned around in not a kind of a short period of time. We've identified once again the recruiting class of last year and the recruiting class of this year is completely different, just due to kind of where the program was at in terms of 0 and 13. The school was great and administrating me to kind of, right, listen, we've got to wipe the slate clean here and move on and kind of figure out right wing back, centre half, forward, midfielder, all that kind of stuff. And then this year, it's more about, for example, Max, right wing back. We don't need a right wing back. We might need a right wing back who's going to push Max even further, but we need to fill this hole. We need to fill this hole. So we're only looking at kind of 5, 6, 7 guys to come in and change this into a high level. And it's just that next step, right? We're looking at, we're going to be looking at winning the conference. It's as simple as that. Like the guys know, like there's no reason UDC won the conference this year. And I know great coaching staff there, but they finished 6th in the conference regular season and they went on to win it, which just shows the level of obviously the coaching staff at the university. But at the same time, once you finish that regular season, it's a whole brand new season. It's kind of let's wipe the slate clean again and we go again. So our goal as a coaching staff and the guys know individually, it's to win the conference. It's as simple as that. We're going to try and put the pieces together is in terms of the recruitment and get the right guys in. We need a few more goals in the team. we need a bit more quality in different areas, but we've got a solid base of freshmen there who have learnt this year and who have taken a lot on in their freshman year. It's a very young team. I think we had 8 freshmen out of 11 in the starting 11 in the quarterfinal, which if you go across the whole nation, I can guarantee we're the only team doing that. So it's just a very young team with a bit of experience here and there, which is I always like to have. But the culture is already set. It's now about these freshmen now just pushing it on the next guys coming in and moving forward. That's going to be the case. So, but we'll always take it a game at a time. I mean, that's what we did this year. We never thought we'd be. If you asked me, if we had a call this time last year after taking the position that we'd finish 4th in the conference and we'd be taking results off 20th in the nation at Mercy at the time, we were taking points off 𝗧𝗂𝗍𝗂, I'd have said no. But then if you'd have asked me 3 or 4 months later with the kids who accepted and came in, I'd have probably said yes, because I do believe in these players. They're a high level player. They've got a lot of experience behind them, whether they're coming from the UK, Australia, in the ECNL pathway, MLS Next, wherever it may be. But the sky's the limit of the program, just due to how much the school's actually putting effort into the sports. That's another thing. I was at and I can say it now because Medaille's closed. I was at a university where, did they really care if I won the conference? I'm not too sure. Did they care more about me having 45 guys on a roster and keeping the doors open? 100%. So it was more kind of a personal pride thing of, this is a step in my career and it's a step in my player's career to go on to the next stage. But this now is every single administrator is pushing, right, it's time to win. The school's process with last year in terms of that transition from D3 to D2, now we've found our feet. Now we go and win. So that the AD, the president is looking at that in every single program. And I feel like that's where players want to be, right? They want to get looked at and a bit of pressure on winning football games. I want to be in a job where I'm getting pressured to win football games. I don't want to be there just sat there and I'm counting the players coming through the door just to keep the doors open. And that's a lot of schools right now in the nation, just due to how COVID's affected it, and you see closures on Facebook and Twitter every 2 weeks. So, and unfortunately, Medaille was one of that cases. But don't want to put myself in one of the environments ever again, just due to keeping the doors open. But we're at a point right now where I can only have 28 guys on the roster, and that's not due to kind of money restraints or anything like that. It's due to Title IX, obviously obligations and stuff. But the school's very, very strict on the amount of players in a roster and the amount of care that you give for 28 players. You can't give care to 45 players. We tried our best, but it's just impossible. Like, it's absolutely impossible. You can give a lot of care to 28 players, and you can give a lot of individual moments for 28 players for sure, whether it's in the spring season coming up, whether it's in the fall where guys maybe need a bit more development time, which is fine. That's fine. But 28 players is a lot easier to manage than 45.
Yeah, that's so good. I think that it always starts from the top down, right? So if you have that structure in place from the top, and it trickles all the way down. And like you said, I love the fact that you said you want to be under pressure, because if you are in that kind of setting, it's going to demand a lot more from you rather than just kind of collecting a paycheck every day. So really, really appreciate that, Sean. That was amazing, man. I really appreciate it. It was fantastic getting insight into the program. So stoked for what happened with you guys this year, and really, really excited about what's going to happen for, the rest of this journey with the Youville. Excited for my boy Max. I think he found a great home and a great mentor with yourself, and I think that he'll continue to grow and flourish if he applies himself. So, mate, I'm grateful for it, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time as well, man. And we're going to stay in touch. I'm going to make sure that, I know that you have specific positions that you need to fill too, right? So I'm on the lookout, mate. I'm on the lookout for you.
Well, we've got some big games in the spring coming up, so we're going to play. I think we're playing 5 D1 teams, and then I'm going to try and play a high-level D2 team. It's just difficult in this region because we're in that area where, like our closest school is Damon, which is obviously in Buffalo, and then after that, it's a good 2-3 hours away. So, but yeah, we're going to play Niagara, Bonnie's, Canisius. So the guys are going to get tested in the spring. It's kind of full steam ahead, where this time last year we were playing, I couldn't even schedule a spring game kind of thing, where it was basically muck around for 3 months, kind of getting the guys on the ball, and then it wasn't a real spring semester. So Max is going to go from 32 degrees, whatever it is, to minus 32 degrees in 6 weeks. So we'll see how he adapts to that situation in 4 weeks' time. I don't think he's looking forward to it. I've already warned him about it. So, but it'll be a funny part of the year.
Yeah, mate. Canberra gets quite cold, but not minus 32. So anyway, mate, look, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for
Appreciate
today.
it, John.
All right, mate. Take care. Have a good one.